So my name is Patrick Garcia, and today I want to talk about um, my high school experience with wrestling and some of my goals. All right. So one thing I do want you guys to know from my story is that if you want something bad enough, you cannot give up when you don't win it the first time. So to give you a little backstory before the story, my freshman year, I started wrestling, and I wasn't that good, and I took it more as for fun rather than putting my heart all into it and doing this to win, So my freshman year, I wasn't that good, obviously, since it was my first year, and I still worked hard, but I could have done a lot better if I actually wanted this to be my main sport. So, but to end it off, towards the end of the season, I got a lot better, and I ended up qualifying for Masters, which is kind of a big deal for a freshman, especially a freshman who's in his first year. So towards the end of my freshman year, when I got good and qualified for Masters, I was like, okay, so if I actually put my heart into the sport and I do better, I could actually be something and make myself out of something out of the sport. So my sophomore year, I made a goal and said that I wanted to qualify for state. But towards the end of my sophomore year, I ended up making it to Masters again, and I ended up placing 7th at Masters, and that was one place away from making it to state. So that was my second year of wrestling. My third year, I thought, okay, took 7th place at Masters, this is my year where I'm actually gonna qualify. But it didn't work out, and I ended up taking 7th place again. So after both times, one place away from state, my heart was broken. And this is my senior year, all right? So this was my senior year, and we fast forward to Masters, all right? I walked onto the mat, and I knew that today was the day where my life would either change or be the same. Those past 3 years, I had been tormented by falling short of my end goal. State was my dream, and I knew that I would have to deal with missing the experience for the rest of my life. The California State Tournament is arguably one of the hardest tournaments in the country, and I had missed participating by one place 2 years in a row. This would not happen again. All year I wrestled with the mindset of make it or break it. I put a sign above my head and above my bed and saying that I would make it to state, and I kept repeating it over and over. I learned that giving up was not an option, and I was determined to achieve my goal. I challenge all of you to not give up when it gets difficult. In the back of my mind, I wondered what my parents and my coaches and even my supporters would think of me if I failed to make it again. My dad had put in countless hours going to the gym with me, paying for training, and I couldn't bear to see the look on his face if I disappointed him. He hit my head before the match and said, "Son, this is it." Looking into his eyes, I saw the anxiety he had about that day, and worried if he saw mine as well. I brushed off the feelings of doubt and told myself this time would be different. Throughout the day, I felt myself getting more anxious, and every win was an opportunity to go farther. But it also meant the competition was going to be harder. I had to win 3 matches in a row to automatically qualify for state. My first 2 matches, I went by, and they were a breeze. I pinned them before the match was over. My third match, however, was different. I prayed harder than I ever had before and knew that whatever happened was God's plan. A verse kept coming into my head. Proverbs 24:16. It says, "For a righteous man falls 7 times and they rise again." This was the moment I had worked for my entire career. As I stepped on the mat, I knew that it was all or nothing. At this point, I was fighting my fears just as much as I was fighting my opponent. I wrapped the ankle band around and prayed a little more and shook my opponent's hand. The ref blew the whistle and signaling my moment. Everything was in slow motion for the next 6 minutes. My family held their breath the entire time, and it felt like I did too. As I started taking down my opponent, the sweat dripped down my face, and anything could happen in a wrestling tournament. So even though I was winning, I knew not to get too excited. Looking towards the left, I could see my entire family holding each other, shouting my name. In those 6 minutes, the self-doubt I had faced slowly melted away as the clock ticked down. In the third round, my opponent made a costly mistake and he reached back to try to get off the mat, and this would eventually cost him the match. I took my chance and pulled his upper body straight to the mat. I held his back as tight as the mat, and my arms could clench. I squeezed with every ounce of heart I had in me. I looked at the ref as he tried to see if I had the pin. He blew the whistle and slammed his hand on the mat, signaling my victory. Once I realized that I won, there was tears streaming down my face as I leaped off the mat. And I could see my parents and all my coaches all yelling and screaming. My coach ran up to me and bear hugged me, looking back at my girlfriend and my mom, each other screaming and crying. My dad kept repeating, "My son, that's my son," over and over. The tears streamed down his face, and his smile something that I will never forget. All year I was tormented by the fact that I wouldn't reach a goal that meant so much to me. Raising my hand was a huge realization that I had the capability, but I didn't have the right mindset. I was worried about the expectations I had placed on myself throughout high school, and that I wouldn't live up to them. While I was good enough, it wasn't until after going to state that I realized that no one else had such high expectations, and no one was ever disappointed in me. I challenge you all to go out and achieve the goals you have, even if you don't succeed the first time. My prayer for you is to keep God first and saying that His plan is the one that you will follow, and working hard to achieve your dreams.